pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the flag.
No, I do not need help.
I'm forever touching Scott's.
Thank you anyway.
Roll call it.
May I interrupt for just one moment? Thank you, whoever was responsible for hanging the flag on the wall over there, because it was not properly displayed before.
Okay, great. Everyone is here and we have a quorum.
No sound on Zoom.
No sound on Zoom. Get that fixed. While you're also doing that, can you do a verification of the posting?
Yes, I had it up at 3 locations, the post office, the grocery store, and on our door.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. Let's move on to the approval of the agenda. Any comments? Okay, the agenda is approved.
Are you gonna vote on that? Or no, that's right, you don't have to vote on that.
No. Let's move on to guest comments. So, are there any guest comments tonight? Reminded that they're 2 minutes long. Anybody from Zoom?
I have 2 people online, and does anyone online want to make guest comments? Let's see here, there's a chat. Oh, there is no sound, so I gotta find the sound. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Last time, didn't we say that we were going to identify the people on Zoom?
You can see them right up here on the screen.
They are identified right on the screen. And we were not going to identify them by name. As
On the
we
top,
do not identify people by name.
On the top, all the way to the left, where it says audio, you have a red mark.
Oh,
Turn
there
your
it
sound
is.
down.
Thank you.
Yep.
There we go.
Wait a second, you said people don't have to identify themselves when they give comments?
Oh, yeah, of course, when they give comments, I'm just saying, I thought you meant identify them for being on Zoom. Then, of course, they'll identify themselves if they give comments, just like anyone. So are we waiting to hear from anybody?
Nope, everyone just commented there wasn't any sound when we
Okay.
saw
I'll
that.
just introduce myself. I'm Josh Rowley. I'm the run for town board chair. So anybody that doesn't know me, I live in the town of Iron River here. I have for quite a few years. We've owned property here for about 18 years, so.
Isn't that out of order?
He's
Public comment.
giving a comment.
Oh, okay.
That's his comment. And it was less than 2 minutes. It was a lot less than 2 minutes. Let's move on to correspondence. Any other, just a last call for comments?
One last thing.
Yeah.
I have asked 3 months in a row. I know that it is acceptable for a board member to temporarily leave the board and make citizen comments and then come back on the board, and 3 times you have rejected it. I'd like to know on what grounds you make that objection.
I'll come back to that during my report. Let's move on to, of course, I'll address your question, but not at this time. So if we could move on to correspondence distribution, anything from?
Nothing, no
Nothing
correspondence.
this past month. Okay, well, let's move on to approval of the minutes. Give people a chance to glance at that if you have any questions about it. Well, I'll comment on that point for the minutes instead of my president's report. So I said at the last meeting that we would address that issue, put it on the agenda, but I didn't. I forgot to do that. So that is the idea of a board member giving comments. So because in my opinion, I wanted a larger board discussion on it, so that people could weigh in, and I did not put it on the agenda, and that's my fault. So I apologize for that to everybody.
No, sorry, just wait a second. This one thing that you gave us, the basics for small boards, I'm unsure, why would that have to be voted on if it is part of the rules? If it is something that is acceptable? Are you saying?
Well, I'm sorry, I have not seen that in that, so, where does it say in that thing that I passed out about Robert's rules that a board member can step up?
No, it says here, full and free discussion of every main motion is a basic right. All members have equal rights, privileges, and obligations, but it seems that constantly you shut me down whenever I speak up and say something you don't like.
That's,
Point of order.
yeah, point of, yeah,
What is on the floor is the approval of the minutes.
right,
Please.
got it. Any other comments on the minutes? Any changes to the minutes? The minutes are
I make
approved.
a motion to approve minutes.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Wendy. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
One no. Okay. Just going into my report, it's fairly brief. One, I just mentioned, I did not have in the minutes, so that was in our minutes, but it's something that I didn't do. But if there is an interest, would you like it as a agenda for next month, John? Or anybody?
I think it would be a good thing to have on the agenda to discuss at the January meeting.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree, because it seems like it's something we need to hash out so we can
Yeah.
move on. Find the answer and solve it.
Okay, so we'll do that next month. I would like to just comment from the Town Board of Supervisors this past week, just an update that both David and I were approved for an additional 3-year term by the town board. So at this time, this is the board that we have right now, is the board that will be functioning. There were not any discussions from the town board at this point to me or to Jackie and I or anybody about additional board appointees to go from 5 to 7. So that's really up to the town board, and I'm not, exactly sure what they want to do. So we'll wait to hear from them on that. Those are really the main things that I have for mine.
I just have a question, if I could, about.
About one of those,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, about the town board appointing or not appointing more members. I personally would like to see more members, and I don't know if we have, as the board of trustees, if we have the ability to just convey that to the town board. I understand that they are the ruling, entity, but, I think having the 7 we used to have kind of gives more ideas. It also helps make sure that we have quorum if somebody is sick or, so that's just,
Okay, so if I could say that, to have that discussion, we should put it as an agenda item to say that we want to do that in January. Also, a good point about that is that our bylaws say that we have 7 members and we have 5, so we're gonna either need to change that. But it would be nice to have that discussion if the board in general would like to make a statement to say that we would like that. In the meantime, I will also talk to David about where they're at least right now, and then next month we can discuss whether we'd like to advocate for that. But we can't really have that whole discussion right now.
Because it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
But you brought it up
Yeah,
in the president's report, so I'm thinking we might be able to at least comment on it, can we?
you could, yeah, and I would say the comments would be to say, should we add it,
should we add it to the
decide
agenda?
that we add it to the agenda for a more full discussion.
Well, then another thing, since you brought it up, the town board, I have heard here that the town board has no relationship to what we do here. We are our own entity, which I find difficult to accept. Can we have some kind of discussion as to whether or not what the town board does is in any way applicable to what we do here?
I'm not completely sure what you mean by that, but if we're going to have a discussion about what is the town board adding members, we could consider discussing that as a board at the
Well,
next.
no, what I'm
meeting
talking
with the
about
role.
different interpretations of that book. Apparently, they interpret it one way and you interpret it another way, and frankly, I'm more inclined to go with them. So, can we have some kind of discussion as to whether or not the town board has any relevance to this board?
Okay, what I'll do is I'll add a different agenda item for the role of the town, so that just might be helpful to all of us, is what does the town do and what do we not do? And it is actually a little confusing in Wisconsin in general about we can do a brief overview of what the town decides, for example, budget-wise and so on, very much involved in what we do. So we can talk about that. I will check, and I think both you and I can just go over that list and talk to anybody that we need to at the town.
And
And
you
just to
wouldn't
kind
mind
of
if-
give a little review.
You wouldn't mind if I did my own investigation on that?
Absolutely,
with the
because
board?
that could be part of the discussion for the next month, when we kind of review what does the town do. And maybe that we can just incorporate what do we want, what would we like from the town, that is or is not happening. That would be the request. Okay. Great. Friends of the library.
There are friends of the
We have
library?
lots of friends of the library.
Nothing to report.
Okay, great, thanks. Secretary's report,
Nothing to report?
nothing to report. Let's move to the treasurer's report.
Do we have to? I am still struggling with the treasurer's report. I thought that I had it all understood, and I don't. So I kind of think I need,
Got it.
do you understand that?
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying.
So I need to get with either you, Jeff, or you, Jackie, and just, I mean, I have documentation that you've given me, but I'm just not clear on it. And last month I thought I was, and then I wasn't.
Okay, yeah, that's no problem.
Why don't the three of us get together this next week and just go over it?
That would be great.
The
Okay.
materials.
Thank
So,
you.
Me, not as this role, but as the previous treasurer.
Okay.
So, if that's all right, we'll
That's great. That's great.
meet about that next week. Let's move to the library director report.
Okay. We have been preparing for the holidays. We had Mr. and Mrs. Claus come on December 10th. We had about 15 to 20 kids come through. A lot of activity and energy for that hour that they were there. Let's see, the 17th, we had a book club discussion. We discussed Redbird Christmas by Fannie Flagg. Tomorrow night, hold on a second. Let me get my muting here. Missed somebody. There we go. Okay. All right, and then tomorrow night, we're gonna be discussing the kitchen front here at the library, and that'll be an evening book group. Then, both of those are not usually in the same week. We usually have the one was on the 17th, the fourth Tuesday, but because of Christmas Eve next week, we have it a week early, so. We had, if the board is agreeable, the library staff will continue to work on the outdoor space across the way. As all of you know, we are gonna have a fence installed come spring, but I also wanna start working on cultivating gardens and seeding in the area in and around the carriage house, as well as clean up the residue that's there. There's some old tin out there and such like that, get that all cleaned up so that we can have that all more open and available for people to just relax and do park-like stuff in it.
Who will do that work?
Well, I talked to Andy with the
Volunteer
town,
thing, or-
and he and his crew are willing to come help, And I think they were gonna bring some sort of a container so that we can put stuff right into it, so that we can get that all out of there come spring. We're also gonna have it across the street, we're gonna be directing, staff towards creating maker spaces, opportunities for the community. We're going to do some more research on what that best format to go through with that, but that's another opportunity we're looking at coming up this next year. And then finally, we have received $115 from different audience members, a total of 115, when we had the Dickens dinner. So I was going to put that towards seating out in the park, if the board is okay with that. We also received a donation of $200, and I'm gonna be checking with that donor to see how they would like those funds used in the 2025. So that is what we have going on right now at the library.
Did the winery make an additional contribution, or is that the total of the contribution?
No, there will be an additional contribution. They usually like in mid-January, start of February, they have a presented check and we have a picture and put it in the paper. So should be some additional funding from that. So the board will decide at that point what they would like that to be used for as well. So,
Yeah, great. Okay, let's discuss some old business. The first old business.
hold on 1 second. Do we approval of the bills?
Oh, we did not approve.
Yeah, I have that list there. I'll
Sorry,
have
that was
you
part of
type
your-
it up so each of you can see the different bills. If you want to have a actual printout of what each bill is for, I have that in my lap, so.
Can we get a copy of that?
Sure, you want a copy of the bills?
Yeah.
I will.
Copy of what the money was actually spent on?
Sure, I will make a copy after the meeting and give it to you.
Well, then how can I vote on it if I don't know what
I
I'm
will go
voting?
make a copy. Well, actually, if you just want to look at what I have right now, and then I can make a copy if you want a copy of your own as well.
All of this?
Yes.
Rather than delay the meeting, would you have a copy of this for next month, for this coming month? Rather than me spend the time to go through it now, I'll just do that in the future.
Okay, sounds good. Do you want me to let you know ahead of time? Because I usually get them prepared like a day or two ahead of time, so you have a chance to go through
No.
them. Just at the meeting is fine?
Meeting is fine.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the bills to be paid?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills to be paid as presented. I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion about the monthly bills? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No, well, I abstain, since I don't know what I'm voting for.
And one abstention. Okay. The old business is really the second reading, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at the material selection policy. It's really the second discussion. Everybody's had this for a month. And at the last month's meeting, we discussed some of the changes that are in there, and you can see that. And so I'll give people a minute to just kind of make sure we review that, because I would like to take a vote on, if we can, on the changes from the earlier drafts of the materials selection policy. And so if there are questions about this, this is the time to discuss it. I mean, I think everybody knows that the things that are, have a line through it, the strikes are things that would not be included in the final version that we would be voting for tonight.
So on page 4, what is the procedure then if somebody doesn't like, if the resolution can't be reached? I just see a strikeout through that one paragraph.
There's language added just above that.
Well,
Yeah.
what cannot be reached, maybe a page of the, but then, and then that will go down to the next paragraph, so at the next available meeting, or not less than 10 days, it'll be discussed.
Yeah, I mean, the process is described there of what happens. If the concern isn't resolved,
Then within 10 days, it will be brought up to the board.
that whole paragraph, what it says, we could read through that. The library director will give the board of trustees the form and all supporting paperwork for their review no less than 10 days prior to the next board meeting. The inquiry will be placed on the board agenda. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, my recollection is that there was pretty much of a consensus as to the language, since we all went through it together at the meeting.
Yes.
And assuming it's been appropriately recorded and reflects that discussion, I think we should approve it.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the Etobicoke Woodbury Memorial Library material selection policy as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Wendy. Motion by Jan. Any further discussion about any of these, the changes to the earlier drafts? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the changes to the material selection policy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No,
No?
and the reason is
Uh-huh.
because I don't see this substantially changing anything from what caused this whole controversy to begin with, almost 2 years ago. So, no, it does nothing, it's just paper.
Okay, thank you. So new business, we have several items. The one, this shouldn't take long, I don't think. I've added this about snow shoveling. It's a very interesting topic that comes up a lot, has come up a lot since I've been on the board. And it doesn't seem like, you might think that it's kind of trivial, but it's actually a really big deal because the sidewalks here, when it gets heavy with snow, I mean, it's a real safety issue for everyone, and obviously, of course, access and so on. The basic thing is that the question is who is doing the shoveling? And Jackie submitted something to all of us during this past month about getting the idea of having a company or a group of people to hire some people to take care of it. We also had a discussion about you all doing it, because basically right now it's the library staff that shovels the sidewalk, and that I do not think is an ideal situation. We can discuss this as a board, which is why it's an agenda item. The second part of that is that I did a survey of all of the libraries in Bayfield County, including Bayfield, Washburn, Drummond, Cable, and of all of the libraries, from the librarians and actually some of the staff that does it. Basically, the bottom line of this very quick survey is that all of the towns in Bayfield, the town takes care of the sidewalks of the library. The one exception to that really is Drummond. Cable, because Cable is part of the history, the Natural History Museum that's right next to the library in Cable, if you've ever been there. and they lease the land, so that basically, they take care of the sidewalks in Cable, but essentially, the town does that for all the libraries. So the item that Jackie sent us about hiring someone to do it within our own budget, what I would like to just throw out is the idea that we communicate with the town of Iron River to ask if they can, showing them the fact that all the other libraries, the town takes care of the sidewalks after a snowstorm. And just to request that be done, and then hear from them. And this needs to happen soon, because we're already in winter, obviously, and there's been several snowfalls already. And then if that is not a successful thing with the town, then we will then go to that next phase. So what are your thoughts about that? So I'm happy to work on a document and go meet with the town chair about it. We've had some preliminary discussions, the three of us did a month or so ago, and it was sort of unclear about what was possible from the town. So I'd like to get that clarified, show them the results of what all the other towns do, and see if we can work that within the town. As you were just saying, they're going to take care of some of the things over here. My request would be, my suggestion is that we ask as a board to do the library sidewalks. I'll also just say one thing that I learned in my survey is that take for example Washburn, they were very clear about describing that the town does it after a snowstorm, but if it's continually snowing heavily during the library hours, during the day, they'll go out and do some cleanup of it. And I think that's pretty typical. So it's not like a city.
The library staff.
The library staff. So it's not like the town people have to be there all day long to keep everything off, but to do the initial thing. So what are your thoughts?
Which three people discussed this?
Well, we were having a budget discussion, which is why Wendy and Jackie and myself, when we met with the town board chair to discuss the budget, which is what we said that we were going to do. Part of that was where in the budget is the shoveling and some of the other services, and that's why we got into that discussion. But
So
nothing was just brought up as part of the budget meeting.
So was that a committee that was formed?
Well, if you look back at the previous notes from our thing, we have discussed at this board that we would be going to meet with the town board chair about our budget. We've discussed that.
No, I'm talking about the three of you.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes, it was.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So what are your, any thoughts about that? Should we give that a try before we use our budget money for it?
I like that idea a lot.
Right now, for the past few days, the Atomic Cleaning has been keeping the sidewalks clean. And they were willing to do it for $20 an hour, which is what the board had approved when we were paying Tim. They normally charge $25 an hour. Can we put that in as a temporary payment until we work out with the town how to move forward with the snow shoveling?
Yeah, or if they will even, yeah. What do you all think?
Why can't we just do that rather than involve the town board in this? Do we have the authority to just say, that sounds like a good deal, let's just do that?
Are they an ongoing service? I mean, have they offered to be an ongoing?
Yes, they are willing to do it ongoing, but they charge $25 an hour, and I did not have that approved before committing to them. And so I asked them if they would take $20 an hour until we had this meeting tonight, and then I
Because
can.
that's what was approved before.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Can you get it for 20?
They will want 25. If we wanna go with 20, we would have to go back probably to Tim, and then, Tim is not insured, which this Atomic Cleaning is. So the town auditor will be happy with the fact that they have their own insurance.
I don't see any harm in having you talk to the town chair to see if they would be willing to pay for it. You can give them the information that that's how almost all the other libraries do it.
Right.
No.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
It doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, why would we want to spend $25 an hour out of our budget if we don't have to?
Mm-hmm.
So it's worth a try. in my opinion.
Does that require a motion?
Well, let's do a motion, just to keep things
I'll make a
clear.
motion to approach the town about, taking on the snow shoveling, snow removal for the library.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And Wendy seconds the motion. Any discussion of that? All those in favor of going to the town to discuss the possibility of shoveling our sidewalks, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
And you will
That
follow
motion.
through, and you will follow through?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow through with that literally in the next day or two, because it's in the middle of the season. Okay, so let's move on to the next item to discuss the volunteer policy. We brought this up at the last meeting about volunteers. Jackie, would you like to just review this? We have it in the packet. This is Jackie's draft of, or suggested, documentation and a policy on what happens when you are a volunteer at our library.
What it entails is it has kind of a code of ethics as well as what is expected of a volunteer. And it also includes the application. And it also covers if we would have students come and work as well, so that we have a formal record of the time that they're putting in, they know what is expected of them and how they behave, and then we have a clear line of direction for them as well as for us. This is mostly taken from East Troy because it was a pretty comprehensive policy, I thought. I did a little bit of tweaking, not a lot. So, but that is what I'm hoping this will be put forth to our volunteers. They then know what they are able to do, and we can move forward without having any incidents.
David?
The policy is for all volunteers. The application form specifically says it's for high school students.
Well, that would be giving that out to the high school students,
So
the application. What we'd be doing for the adults, we would just be taking their information and running a background check. And I talked to Matt. He's not gonna, I don't know how long he's here yet for, but as soon as they have the new chief of police installed, I will then confer with him how he wants to handle that.
The background check.
Yeah, Matt was willing to just have me tell the name and address, and he could look it up at least for this area and find out if there was any issues. He said if the board wants to do a more in-depth, then it would probably be cost that's involved. But then they could do it, for the full state or all the United States if you wanna go that far out.
Yeah, and you also stated here that, so basically the adults would have an interview, essentially. An
Yeah.
interview to see if they're a good fit or.
Yeah, see if they would work with the group.
And they would also sign this volunteer code of ethics.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't get a lot of young people volunteering. It mainly comes in when they need hours for National Honor Society. So it'll be a good thing for them to fill that out and kind of go through the process, so they get a little practice at that experience.
In a year, roughly speaking, how many people might request to volunteer?
Last year, I think we had maybe 2 high school students, and then we have 2 dedicated volunteers that have been with us for years. And we have a new one starting in January, because one of our dedicated one always goes away for the winter, and she won't be back until April or May. So this new person is here year round, so she'll be filling in at least for a little while, doing shelving. That's mostly what we have them do, is shelving, because that's where a lot of our time is put towards.
I have a question, because the whole thing with this came about because there was an adult volunteer who there was some conflict with. It seems like we get a lot of information for a high schooler, but just the name and address is what we get for an adult, or do they have, is there a kind of a form that they fill out too?
No, I will be talking to them, doing an interview, and then they will actually have an official background check through the police department.
So it's bullet 5 there, if you see bullet 5 on that, it doesn't number 5, like the 5th one down. So the process that Jackie was just saying is that it's not a form, but it's kind of like a form in that you have an interview, but
Why would we have a form?
We can adapt, if the board wants that, we can adapt that form so that they in turn can fill out a form also as an adult volunteer.
It seems that would be practical, you know. What job do you get, volunteer or not, that you don't at least fill out some kind of an application?
I agree.
Okay, I can do that.
And I just wanted to make the point that before you do a background check on a person, they kind of have to agree to it. So I think they need to sign something that says they.
Okay, I will make that clear on that document then.
However, can that be on the form that they fill out, that they understand that once they apply to be a volunteer, there will be a background check involved
On the application.
on the
Yeah,
application?
because on our employment applications, it's on them at the bank, people.
that application.
Yeah, they sign it saying we can do that.
It also, it says in the policy that you keep them for a year, so it'd be nice to keep something for a year. I mean, instead of just your documents from your interview or whatever. So that's another thing that you can actually keep this form for the year. Okay, anybody, do we have any motion to approve the volunteer policy?
A motion? I'll move it.
Or do you want me to bring it back next month and with the changes for the final?
Well, we could also approve it with,
We can, I
assuming
can make
these
a
changes.
motion, yeah, I can make a motion to approve
Yeah.
the volunteer policy, contingent on the adult volunteer application form being provided at the next meeting.
Okay.
And that, the other thing that we talked about is that it would include the,
Oh, what background check?
that would include the idea that you're going to have a background check and so on.
Okay.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll
Jane?
second it.
You have a second by Jane. All of those who approve the volunteer policy with the changes discussed tonight, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Great, thank you. The next item is a long word that comes from the document that you have, and it's a little folded, I think it's folded in your packet. And it is something called the Policy on Public Use of the Internet and Acceptable Internet Standards. So that's a very big title, but basically, I will let Jackie explain it, but before that, you don't have to read through all of this tonight, but this is what young people fill out, so they know what's responsible internet use. And this is a time to review it yourselves, and next month we can, if you have comments, we can discuss changes if it needs to be updated, because this has been around for a while. And it's obviously an important thing that we have a good internet policy, use policy of the library. Would you like to comment on it before?
Well, it's something I inherited, and I know we've gone through a computer use policy that's separate from this. But this is what we use for when parents come in and they want to allow their children on our computers. Like for instance, when they're getting a library card, we always ask them if they want to allow their children on the computers because they do not have filters, and we do not police them. And we expect that the parents will have talked to them about what they can and cannot get into. This is a document that the parent signs if they give their child permission to use the computers. If they don't give their child permission to use computers, they just don't get to use the computers, we can put a little, an letter N on one line in the computer, and then that library card does not access the computers.
Gotcha.
This is our current policy?
Yes,
And
it's what I inherited, and it's dated 2003, so it's definitely time to,
Well, I was gonna, that was my next question, is we're reviewing it because it hasn't been looked at in a while? And are there any specific things that you have concerns about that you would like us to look at?
not at the moment, but I'm gonna do a deeper dive and read through it, and bring them to you next month if there is anything that I desperately feel that needs to be removed or kept. But, in the quick read through that I did, I was okay with it all. It was just, I wanted to do a, deeper dive and just make sure everything is exactly the way it should be for the current standards.
Yes, and it might also be good to just, obviously, as you always do too, is just see what other libraries have done recently.
Yes,
Because everything, changes really quickly now, so it'd be to see, best practices and so on, which
Yes.
obviously you do now. And it's a lot, like,
It is a lot of
It's
information.
really a lot for
Yes.
somebody to read, so if some people have some policies, in my opinion, having worked on many of these from my 45 years in schools, if there could be a simpler version, that would be really great,
okay,
like.
Yeah. it is.
So if a minor wants to come in and use the internet, they have to have parents' approval?
Yes,
And yet that same minor can come in and get books that talk about sexuality in the youth section, and the parents can't do anything about it.
the parent has the right to revoke their library card whenever they choose until they're 18 years old age or older, or younger.
Any other discussion about it? It's not anything that we're going to vote on tonight, but it is just for your information and for you to glance at and for Jackie to do some research.
Do we still have a handout called the Internet, a Parent's Guide?
That is what I believe it is, right there. If
Oh,
it,
is.
yes. There was, when I started in this job, that was the only document that was connected with the policy that we are using in regards to allowing kids to be.
I
on
just didn't
the
want it to refer to something that.
Yeah,
we didn't have.
oh yeah, totally.
And do we have a digital copy of this?
I don't, but I
To
can
be able
make
to
sure
edit?
we get one, yeah.
Well, I think it just depends on what you want to do, like.
Yeah.
If it's helpful to digitize, it's a lot to actually
Yes.
like.
I will get it printed and then we can, edit it as needed, yes.
So, I'm sorry, Jackie, you're saying, so this, distribute a handout entitled The Internet, A Parent's Guide, is this?
As far as I know, that's what always has been
I'm
used.
just wondering if we should, because that's not what this is entitled.
No,
So I'm wondering
No.
if we could, before the next meeting, maybe adjust that to say, Evelyn Goldberg Briggs, distribute the handout, the Evelyn Goldberg Briggs Memorial Library policy and public use of the internet to be acceptable in their standards handout, which is this.
yes,
or something.
okay, I will work on that, yes, it's a
Yeah, 'cause
long,
it's really confusing the way it's, cause when you read it, it's like, I should get another pamphlet
mm-hmm,
or pamphlet.
Great, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Let's move on to the strategic plan review. And I'd just like to make a comment on it and then we'll have Jackie talk about this a little bit. So the strategic plan that we have for the library, and it's in one of your handouts. Iron River Public Library Long Range Plan 2021 to 2026. So it's been going for, this is the end of the fourth year, there's one more year to it. One of the things that I am suggesting is that we review it and we can review it tonight, but mostly we have another year onto this. But I would like for a bit of homework is to look it over and think about this and things change so quickly in libraries, it would be, I think, really helpful to have a review and sort of an update or add some actions or some components to the long-range plan, even for this next year. One of the things that Jackie and I discussed also was just maybe the idea of having a time where people could just get together for a couple of hours and do some brainstorming on this. And that would include, in my opinion, those of us from the board who are interested in just sort of reviewing it or brainstorming other longer range, bigger ideas that could be, that to accomplish over the next year. Jackie was just talking about some of those things tonight. And having a larger conversation for an hour or two about that, and including both the board members that are interested in that. I don't know if we don't need to make an official committee, in my opinion, but I think, and also include people from the community who are interested in coming in and just kind of brainstorming. And especially, I can't remember, is this on our website?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We can put it on there if you'd like.
I think it would be nice, because if the board is interested in having a meeting in another few weeks or a month or so, then it would be nice for people to see what it is right now, what the vision is. So
Okay.
if people have some great ideas about what our library could be, they could bring those forward or suggest them, or come to the gathering where we discuss some of these ideas. So what are your thoughts?
So will we be developing another 5-year plan?
I think
Or
that's,
will we-
I would say the 1 year, at least the 1 year, to finish, to acknowledge and to respect the work that has been done. I don't know, I guess that's for the board to decide. But at least to say, okay, in the last year, well, first of all, how are we doing on these goals? Like, how is that going? Which we could discuss tonight it's not very long, so we might want to ask a few questions even tonight about what is already on the goal and how is that going in some of these goals. So this brainstorming session could really just be about the next year to finish out this one before we do another 5-year plan or 3-year plan or whatever the board decides. Or we could, I feel like it's nice to finish what has been started, somehow, to respect all the work that was done on this.
Well, I like the idea of having plenty of time to review it and consider it, and by discussing any changes that we want to make right away, it really gets us involved in the next 5-year plan, which will be basically a year from now.
Yeah.
So I think it's good.
What are some other thoughts?
I like your idea about the brainstorming. I think that's a great idea, and I like the fact of including community members in that, because we're not making any decisions right there. And I think there's a lot of great ideas in this community.
Yeah, I think, I agree. I think there are a lot of people with good ideas, and there's also a lot of really exciting things going on, all over the country, that are already being done by other people, or new things that we could bring to our library or develop in our library. And the reason it's good to start talking early and start working on this is because sometimes some of these things are large, and they might mean a facility or a building, or like the land that was purchased and so on. It's a bigger thing. It's not something that we're gonna do next month. It's like, what are some big things? And maybe some big ideas are gonna come out that we want that are gonna be like large projects of some sort. I don't know what that is, but, okay, other
Yeah,
thoughts?
I have one. I have a comment. I represent the part of the community that doesn't go along with your agenda. I fear that any kind of group that you're talking about will either exclude those people, make it uncomfortable for them to express their ideas, or simply ignore them. if you just wanna say, we wanna get together so that we can pursue our agenda and get ideas that maybe not everybody wants to go along with, fine. You wanna word it that way, fine. But I don't think it should be, the impression should be given that this is like an inclusive group where no matter what your ideas, no matter what your positions are on certain things, they're not gonna be heard.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments. If you, and I'll just comment on that, if you look at the strategic plan that was made a number of years ago, if you look at all the things that are in this, in my opinion, none of those things had any, I don't know what agendas exactly you're talking about. I don't think they're agenda-driven things. These are library issues, and those are the visions and the policies. And we will, as a library board, our job is to be inclusive of everyone and every thoughts. And
But you're
that
not.
is what,
That's all I'm saying, is you're
we,
not.
but we will be doing that. Okay, well, that's fine. Thank you for your comments, your opinion. Yep.
I just have a question, going forward under goal number 2, I just wanna ensure that, I have a feeling that this sort of thing might need to be discussed in closed session, if it's involving
The staffing
staff
part.
and pay
Yeah.
and things like
Oh,
that, so that would
yes.
have to be, those would have to be closed session discussion topics, I believe. Maybe, I'm not sure.
I agree with you. I mean, well, it's, so for the second goal is to ensure continuity and continue to be an indispensable community resource. Our library must attract and retain highly qualified and experienced staff. I think that one of the things about a group getting together to just kind of develop some ideas, we don't have to do something, we don't have to work on things that need to be in closed session. We can just work on things that would entail that.
It's just more cautionary
Yeah,
comment.
and I would say, back to John's comment, so that one of the ways that, that I could see this going forward is posting what we have, so that's good. And it's not like we're going to be just nitpicking this thing. I think that's for our board to do, but is to really brainstorm new ideas. And so we'll post that and then post something about inviting people. That's everybody who reads the internet, or if you have other ways that we could find people that are interested. That could be anywhere, in any way that is inclusive of the whole community, to be able to say, hey, do you have ideas for, we're starting to think about our long-term plans for the library. Would you like to be involved or something? So we'll come up with that.
Okay.
A marketing plan for that, a way to let people know what we're thinking, big picture, and then how people can be involved. And then our job is to do a good job of being inclusive.
So can I put in the minutes that you and Jackie will be developing a series of sessions or plans to move forward on this?
Yeah, if that makes sense to everyone on the board.
Yes.
Let's make a motion for that, so it's a real thing.
Is it a motion about you and Jackie getting together, or? a
Yep,
motion about-
to do a review,
Okay.
to do a community strategic plan and brainstorming.
I will make a motion, for Jeff and Jackie to get together to try to plan where we can have an all-inclusive brainstorming session regarding, the bigger picture for the library vision statement and how the library, can do well for the entire community.
I agree wholeheartedly, but can you give me some language?
You want me to not
So-
use all those words?
You have to say the exact same thing again.
I make a motion that Jeff and Jackie, do some preliminary work to get set to have a brainstorming session regarding the library strategic plan, long-range strategic plan. I'm sorry, I talk too much.
That's great.
Hold on. What was the last part of that? To develop brainstorming sessions to,
To plan, to discuss the Iron River Public Library long-range plan. I just said what was on the top of that sheet, David.
There. Is there a second?
second,
We have a second from David. Any further discussion on that?
so the motion is to appoint the president and the library director to do preliminary work to develop brainstorming sessions to discuss the Iron River Library long-range plan.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, good, thank you, that was well stated.
Excuse me, I'm confused.
Discussion,
It's just gonna be
yes.
the two of you, because I thought, in the past, we used to have committees that would go over things like this. Okay, now is it just the two of you that discuss these things and brainstorm?
No, we're not gonna do that, anything like that. This is really just and this definitely could be a committee, but this is really more of an ad hoc situation, which is like probably a one-time thing. And by the way, if the brainstorming or the board decides we want to make a committee, to make something that meets more regularly, that's great, but this is just sort of an initial time. So we're not doing the work, we're just advertising, we're just like putting together to the community, here's what we're doing, here's our vision.
Inviting
We're just creating the invitation, basically,
But if the board hasn't agreed to it, what are you inviting them to do?
to come up, if people want to get together to envision things in the next year to 5 years in this library, they can do it. So we have input from the community about big things, and you can see what we're working on right now. These are some of the, these are good examples and things that we're actually doing. What else might we wanna do? That's what we're discussing. And it's just to involve more than just this board. This is the community's library, and people should,
It's just that members of the community in the past have been ignored and shut out of some of those decisions.
okay.
And I just see the same thing happening again.
Well, thank you very much, but this is not the past, this is the future. So this is really literally about the future, and that is what we're gonna be planning. We're not going to be we're not looking past. Any
We're
other
not looking
discussion
to the past.
on this topic for the vision? The vision is for what's forward. All right, any other discussion?
Now, is that your decision, or has the board somehow come to that conclusion? That's what we're gonna do?
There's a
This is
motion.
the
on the
motion.
floor.
I made
There's a
the
motion on the
motion
floor.
and it was seconded, and now we're discussing.
Which you are doing, and anybody else have any other discussions before we vote to just have a meeting? All those in favor of that long motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. One no. The motion carries. Before we conclude, does anybody, I know this might be new to you, especially people who are new here to see the vision of the library. Are there any just initial comments about, or maybe questions for Jackie about the current plan that's been going for 4 years now? We could also bring this up at one of our next meetings to talk about it further, because I think I have a number of questions in it, in a good way, like, so the philanthropy question and so on, like, how's that going and so on. I don't think we need to get into all those details, but, so you have a chance to just look it over and maybe develop some questions about it. And maybe be doing a little update on how is the plan going at the next meeting.
I would like,
Where are we on the three goals?
I would like two terms defined, if you don't mind. In the mission statement, it says to cultivate literacy. What does that mean?
Literacy is the ability to read.
Quality materials and services. So do you teach reading here?
We provide materials here for learning to read. We provide story times, getting kids used to understanding that these words mean something and taking steps to assist their parents as their first teachers to move towards reading ability.
Okay, and your second, you have a second?
Yes,
Question?
in the vision statement, meaningful way with everyone in our community. I haven't seen that in the past. What changes are you gonna make so that everyone can get included?
Okay, well, so again, that'll be a question that if we don't need to, in your update next month, when you do sort of a review.
Why do
I
you
think
always
that's a-
interpret what I'm asking and
Good.
decide, and you make the decision whether or not it can be discussed?
Because we just got done saying that Jackie is going to do an overview of what is happening on this current plan. And so in the next month, we will have a review of that, and that is one of the questions you raised, fine, it's great. So like, why is so the question would be for you to think about, and you've been here for a number of years as part of this plan, how is everyone included, et cetera, and other questions that we might come up with as a board. And if you have any other questions that you'd like her to address in that, just send them to Jackie or tell her, could you just tell us a little bit more about this or that? Because I'll be good, I have a few, which are great, because I wasn't here, I've only been here for 1 year, so I don't know.
Yeah, but obviously my experience being here longer than anybody else on the board is irrelevant because that's in the past.
Let's move on. Any other comments for Jackie about that? Not going into great depth, but big comments or questions? Okay, thanks for that. Okay,
One more thing I wanted to mention, if we get all the snow tomorrow, they're prognosticating, can
Yes.
we get, approval for a temporary $25 an hour for these individuals until we figure out with the town how we are gonna move forward with
yeah, it's already in the budget, right?
to a certain extent,
So,
yes.
and I think I believe we've already discussed being able to hire someone, so I'm not
Yes.
sure we really have to do that tonight. I think you can do that without,
Okay, so I
without board
can
approval
let
on
them know
that.
that we'll, from this day forward, we'll do $25 an hour.
No, for this one time.
let's do it for the one time,
Okay,
for now, and then we can come back to that after we hear from the town.
okay,
about what
so
they're gonna do.
$20 still going
Yeah,
forward,
yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering, if we don't hear back from the town in a timely manner, do we wanna try to express it to them in a way that we would wanna do this until we hear from the town?
Yeah, I can let them know
Right,
that and
so
see.
we're not, you're stuck between meetings going, I don't know who can I pay somebody, can I not pay somebody, do I have to wait every single time it snows to get approval from the board?
Yeah, cause they usually charge $25 an hour, which is $5 more than the past board authorized for.
Okay, so it's going from $20 to $25 is what
Yes.
we need to approve, because we've already approved to pay them. And to pay someone to do this. Okay,
I think that if we have 3 major snowstorms before January 15th, I'm not gonna be too upset if you spend $15 extra.
yeah,
Okay,
That's just me.
no, right.
Well, that's me too.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. Do you all feel we need to make a motion about that?
No, so-
It's, I don't think we do, and it's also not on the
Okay.
agenda, so,
so I can just,
yeah.
okay,
That comes under your discretion.
Well,
Yes.
snow removal was on the agenda, wasn't it? I mean, the snow removal. So if we need a
You
motion,
could
we have
make
to
a
make a
motion,
motion.
right, you could make a
Yeah.
motion to
Yeah.
pay $25 an hour.
Yeah, we'll make a motion to pay $25 for atomic cleaning, ongoing until we hear from the town.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right, we do have it on the agenda, so that's
Okay.
good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion about paying the $25 ongoing until we decide otherwise?
Can we make sure that gets added to the agenda for next month so that we make sure that we get
Yes.
this resolved?
We will.
Okay.
I would only add that, when I was on the board, from, what was it, I don't know, 2014 to even earlier to 2018. This was an issue then. It's been an ongoing issue for this library now and it was an issue before then. I know, they were talking about it before that. So it would be nice if we really can put this baby
Yes.
to bed before I'm up even further, Jeremy.
We will. Okay, so any other discussion?
Just a clarification, it's $25 per shoveling event until when?
Per
Per
hour?
hour.
Is it per
Per
hour?
hour,
Okay, until when?
until,
Till we hear from the
for further
board,
notice or,
until we hear from the town,
Until the town board
Regarding it.
acts,
yes.
possible solution with them, I guess.
and that was seconded,
That was seconded
Yes.
by
I second it.
Wendy.
okay.
Any other discussion on the snow issue? The ongoing snow issue? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and
Just two quick
it
things.
is, are they on the, from the
Well,
agenda?
no, I would like something added to the agenda for next month. I'm asking it now so that it can have a good chance to be on there. And that's, can we take some time and discuss this thing that you handed out, just to make sure that, we're all on the same page
What is
regarding
the
what
thing,
the
Jim?
So, yeah, which thing?
The Robert's Rules of Orders, the basics for small boards.
And are you referring to the issue of being able to be a speaker?
No, there are other
Or-
points too.
Other points too, okay, Robert's rule.
And then the last thing is, and I don't need details, I'm just bringing it up. Will we get results of the closed meeting we had last month?
Those minutes have been distributed.
I haven't received them.
They have to, I have them locked in a drawer so that next time we have a closed session, those minutes will be pulled out.
You've seen them already?
I wrote them.
He wrote them. I
You've
just
seen them?
printed them
Other people
out.
have seen them?
No one's seen
No,
them.
no, we have
I
not.
just printed them out, did not look at them, stuck them in an envelope and locked them in a drawer.
Sorry, that's my mistake, I thought the board members had seen them.
Yeah.
No,
So when the next closed session comes, then we can, that's how Helen, has been doing it for the town. So
And I
that's
went
a-
back and checked Robert's rules, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Second.
seconded by David. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. At 7:08, meeting is adjourned.